is Osahon. I'll be your trainer today, and I'll be taking you through a lab. The focus of this lab will be creating a private and a public subnet for a tier 2 architecture. So on this particular training, I just want you to pay close attention because I'll be covering a range of items. First, I'm going to create a VPC. So at the end of this training, you know how to create a VPC. 2, how to create subnets. 3, how to edit subnets. How to create an internet gateway. And how to route your tables to your internet gateway. Also, we are going to look at creating an instance, and finally we are going to run a virtual machine. So all these processes are pretty much simple, very simple, very simple. So I want you to have an open mind, and I'll try to be as clear as I can on this journey. So first of all, we are going to look at the architectural structure. Kindly look at this. The first frame here is our AWS cloud, which is the service that we are using to create the lab. AWS cloud. Let me have to go out to the landing page. So this is the architecture, the cloud architecture that we are going to be using today. So the second is, this is the region where all this task or objective is going to be carried out. Third, we are going to look at individual subnets. Okay, and we see this column here that cut across the 2 subnets. This is the VPC, and then the instance on the subnets. So we are going to look at the routing tables and the payment gateway. Every single information here we are going to design, and I just want you to listen and watch carefully. So first, I'm going to set up my region. So I want to use Singapore, okay, as a region in this case, and I'm going to create a VPC. So let me go back to the architectural structure so that you can see. Now the first thing I'm going to do is this. I have this boundary already, which is the AWS cloud, this boundary, which is this, okay, application I'm working on. The second is this, which is the region, geographical location where this cloud, okay, is located. And now I'm going to look at the VPC. So creating the VPC, you go to either type in VPC here or click on VPC. Now I'll create a VPC. I'll be using VPC only in this particular practice. Looking at the name, I'm going to give it a name. I love VPCN. I'm going to use this as my name. You can give it any name of your choice. I'll be coming here to choose my codes. That is the IP address for the VPC. I'll come down, so there's nothing else I have to type in, nothing else. I'll click on create. Now I've successfully created a VPC. The beauty of every VPC you create comes with a default routing table. So now I'll be clicking on the default routing table, which is the main routing table. I'll have to target here a name. So I'll give it the same name with my VPC. I'll click on save so I can easily identify this main routing table. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do, which is the next objective, is creating a subnet. So I'll come to subnet. I'm going to create 4 subnets, just as we can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they are in 2 regions. You can see 1A, 1B. So I'm going to create 4 subnets. So I pick on the VPC, which we just created. Coming here, I'll just give them public and private, or you give them a name of your choice, but I'm going to give them public and private for easy identification. I'll come here, choose the first region, which I'm using. Now, by default, this is the network, the main network. So the subnet, which is sub-network, will be within this range of IP. So I'll go with it, 172.31, okay, 0.0. I'll go with 16 slash. Now the range, instead of using 16, I'll use something smaller, which is 20. It looks smaller simply mean is the higher the number, the smaller the range, okay, of data. So this is the CIDR, non-class classless inter-domain routing, okay, number. So I'll be using 20 all true. So I have to go down. I'll click on add. Okay, let me make this private. Here I'll choose on the same. I'll come down the same 172.31.0. I cannot use 16 again. I'll be using 32. It's a multiple of 16. 32/20. So I have to go down, click on another. The same thing, I'll make this one public. Select B, okay, the second availability zone. I'll come here, 72.31.0. Here I can use the next one, which is 64. So I'll go down 64/20 means I'll go to the last one, which is add another. I'll put private here. It's the same. 172.31.0.80. It's a multiple. And then at this point I'll click on create. Oh, so this is perfect. Let's see what has happened. Let's see. There is overlap 32 16. Let's take a careful look. The IP address, you have to be very conscious and careful that the range does not overlap each other. So you have to reconfirm your IP address. All I have to do is to reconfirm the CID arrow just to be very sure they don't overlap each other. So I click on create subnets, and this is the outcome. I've successfully created the 4. 1 2 3 4. You can see you have successfully created 4 subnets. These are the 4 of them, individual ID. So at this point I can click on my action. You see the action here is not highlighted. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going down, refresh. I'll come to subnets, click on subnets. It will bring out all my subnets I've created here. Can you see the public and the private? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to focus on the public. I highlight the first one. Action, I have to edit, enable auto assign public IP. So I'm making it public. So first, this is done. I'll look at the second here. Come, click on edit subnet setting, select, and then I go straight to save. So this single action have separated the public from the private. The next thing is, let's create our internet gateway. Very easy. Click on it. Now I go to create. I give it a name. I'll still give it my own name, internet gateway. Click on create. This is all. But at this point I'll have to attach it to a VPC directly. Click on this, select the VPC, which is this, the one we just created, and click on attach. That is all. You have successfully attached your internet gateway to your VPC. As simple as that. Now the next thing we are going to do finally is the routing table. So let's do a quick check on what we have achieved. We are coming here. We have created a VPC, we have created a subnet, we have edited the subnet for the public IP, and for the public IP to enable the public IP. We have created an internet gateway. We are now in the routing. So once this is done, we are done with our VPC. The next thing is now looking at our instance, our security group, the firewalls, on how to launch a server. So I'll have to go back. So at this point, I'll come to routes. I'll come to the main route, which I have here. I'll click on the main route, or not clicking on the main light, because I've highlighted the main route, I can go to routes directly. So underneath, I'm going to edit routes. So on this is the main routing table. So I'm going to add an additional destination. Now I'm linking up the routing table to the internet gateway. So this is all. Save and wait for the updates. At this point, the update is showing here that it has been successfully done. So let's just take a careful look at some of the architecture of what we have done. I come to your VPC, I click on the VPC. Underneath we have the resource map. So the VPC we created, the subnets which have for one single routing table. And finally, we see the connection routing table and network connection. So everything is perfect. Now we are going to create a server through the instance, the EC2 Elastic Cloud Compute, one of the compute services that we have. So now we come here to create an instance, either clicking on this to launch an instance, or you go directly at the bottom, just launch the instance. So this is our instance. So I'm going to create this one as Windows 1. That is the name. You can give it any name of your choice. I'm going to select Window. I'm going to select 2022. I have to move down. Everything by default 64 bits. You come down, you see the instance type, which is T2 micro. Talks about the number of compute, memory, and the family it belongs to. And now I'll check. I don't have a password. Okay, I don't have a key here, so I'm going to select create keypel. So I just put it here, VP CN. You can give it a name of your choice. I'll click on this. It saves directly here as a drop down. That is done. Now I come to edit. Okay, I can click on edit directly, or first, before clicking on edit, I may just like to select this. So because I'm making it public, so I'm working with the public network at this point in time. So I have to come here, edit. The VPC I'll be using will be the VPC we just created. The network, now I'm going to look at, I have 4 of them. You can see them. I'm looking at the first, okay, the first one here, which is the public network, and this one is in B, and this is A. So I'm going to take the A. You can see by default it is enabled, so that is perfectly fine. And I have my inbound security group role. We have the RODP, which is remote desktop protocol. We have the HTTPS and HTTP, okay, protocols here. That is perfectly fine for me. We have the storage. Look at the review, simple steps. And at this point, I will have to create one private, one public. So I'll click on launch. So we have successfully created our server, okay, through the EC2 instance. So I'll click on this. Let's see what we have done. The instance state is running. Perfect. So I'm going to create another. So instead of going through that process, there's another easier way of doing this. Okay, instead of going through the whole process, I'll just go and to action. I'll use the template. I'll say launch more like this, exactly the same. So we have to edit it. We are creating a template and we'll edit it. So I'll be calling this Windows 2, or a name you choose. All the other information remains the same. Coming down here, I have my password already, the one I created. Here, my VPC is already there, so I'm going to put it on the private, on the same availability zone. So now this should be disabled because it's private. and everything remains the same. So I'm going to click on launch. So this is done as well. So I'll click on instance to see both of them. They are both running. So I'll click on refresh to get the status check. So if you take a careful look, you will observe something that differentiates the public from the private. Now take a careful look. This first one is the public. We come down, we can see the public IP address is here. But if I uncheck and click on private, private does not have a public IP address on it. So that differentiates both. So this is to the public, while this is confidential as private. So if you take a careful look at my Windows 1, you see the status is 2 of 2. Now let me run my connection. It is RDP connection. I'll come down, download the remote desktop file. I'll click on get password. Now I'll upload the password I just created. I have to decrypt the password. Pick my password. I come to the Windows, the download of the file, click. So at this point, I'm initializing a virtual machine on the remote desktop. So we just give it a little time to update. So now it's coming up. So this is perfect. So this is the information regarding the VM that is created in Singapore region and on availability zone A. So this is the public. So we could initiate it. You can see here it has both public and private IP address. Now let's quickly run to the second and see if we can connect that. So the second, I have to clean up. So 2 of 2, check pass. Observe something here. I click on connect, click on RDP, download, and I'll quickly run down to get password. I select the password which we created together, decrypt. This is the password. So I just copy the password. I go to the download, click on this. Let's see if it will connect. So you can see it returned an error message. If you take a careful look, you can see the remote access to the server is not enabled. The remote computer is turned off. The remote computer is not available on the network because it is private, not public. But how do I, as an admin, how do I access the information on that server? I can do that. And what should I do? I'll go to the first public which I've created. I'll have to type in remote desktop protocol, which is RDP. Click on it. Now I have this session. So I'm trying to access my private from my public OK interface. So I'll come to where show option. I'll go back to the private information I have. This is the private IP. That will be the computer name. The username, I'll go back. This is the username here, administrator. And I'll click on connect. Let's see. Beautiful. So it's asking us for the password. I'll have to go back to the password which we encrypt. Put in my password and let's see what the outcome would be. You see it has bypassed, so I can access it now. Perfect. So this is a test that every single action we took worked. And from the whole process, I try to analyze it in such a way that you will understand what differentiates a public from a private, and also what to look out for. So the test shows that connecting directly, I could not, but I could connect it through a public. Thank you so much. Just a quick recap. The things that we are going to be mindful of is on the subnet level, we discovered the formatting of the IP address gave us an error because of the CID arrow range, and also on the subnets we enabled just the public. So thank you so much for staying with me. I hope this session was fruitful. Please join me once again in other sessions and have a great day.